Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. First, folks, we got to talk about former President Donald Trump being indicted, the implications of this situation, and really, what does this say about those who voted for the president, and what does this say about democracy? We'll have that conversation. Also, we're going to be checking in with Dr. Bridget MD for this week's Reclaim Your Wellness segment. So we'll be checking in with her. Later on, let's talk a little bit about hip-hop. Is hip-hop really bad for the culture? Big question. I'm going to share with you my thoughts. I would love to hear yours. All of that and a whole lot more. Stay with me. It's all happening on today's edition of the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Woo! Folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversations. Let's jump right in as we're going to be talking about the situation with former President Donald Trump, folks. And of course, if you have not heard, you've been probably living, or if you're living under a rock, you know that the former president has been indicted. A federal indictment has come down from the state of New York about the president's activities. He's facing a count of 30 charges. Let me share with you what CNN had put out, folks, and let you know where we stand in this situation. Take a look at this. So the president is now, he's focused on, according to the latest report, he is going to be charged with more than 30 counts related to business fraud in the indictment. The president is expected to be arraigned in Manhattan in criminal court next Tuesday around 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time, according to two sources knowledgeable about the situation. But originally, what has led to this point of this unprecedented and historic move by the grand jury to move forward in indicting the former president has been the investigation by the Manhattan District Attorney's Office began when President Trump was still in the White House. And it relates to a $130,000 payment made by Trump's then personal attorney, Michael Cohen, to Stormy Daniels, the porn star, in late October 2016. And according to the reports, this was just days before the 2016 presidential election, to silence her from going public about an alleged affair with President Trump a decade earlier. Since then and always, President Trump has denied the affair, even though his fixer, i.e. lawyer, i.e. Michael Cohen, has put up $130,000. Would you say that you're innocent and yet put up some money behind it? So this is really, really interesting, to say the least, just because of, one, this is unprecedented and very, very historic, folks. You never had a former president being federally charged for a criminal action the way that we're seeing right now. So that's the first part. The other part of this situation is that it speaks volumes about where we stand with the with democracy. And part of my thinking on this, and I would love to get your take on it. Part of my thinking is that this is not just a trial about President Trump. This is really a trial about democracy itself. We are really, folks, at a point where we're seeing that this political system has allowed criminals to run amok, to run free for so long that it has to get to this point. Now, more importantly, here's the other part about it. For us, and I'm saying us in general, but for President Trump's supporter in specific, where do we stand on this situation? Now, I want us to really think about this. His indictment is a true reflection of voter values, folks, in this country. And when we talk about, well, what is the great threat to democracy? The greatest threat to democracy isn't coming across the waters. It's not some military exercise. The greatest threat to democracy is really voter values. Now, President Trump was able to convince 70 million people that he was qualified to be in office. He was able to convince 70 million people that he knew how to uphold the integrity of the office. He convinced 70 million people that he was innocent. And now we are at this point. And so I think it's important for us to have a conversation about this. And I want to invite you to the discussion as well. Make sure that y'all join me. You can post your comments in our YouTube chat and on Facebook as well. And I would love to hear what you have to say about President Trump's indictment, but more importantly, talking about, do you see this as being a trial for democracy? And do you see this really being an indictment against voter values and voters? This is the part that I'm talking about. These are the 2 points that I hope that is not missed in the conversation. It's too easy, folks. And let me just say this. It is too easy for us to say it's Trump's fault when you've had people around him who have enabled this type of behavior, and more importantly, enable a certain type of character that he has exhibited to get to this point. Now, some of you might be like, well, it is what it is. We always knew Trump like this. But no. We have a real issue here in America. The issue is that we allow anybody, and I mean anybody, to step in the quote unquote the highest office of the land and to serve as the leader of this country. Is this the precedent that we want to set for ourselves? Is this the precedent that we want to set for generations to come? Is this the precedent that we want to lead with? And this is so much bigger than Republicans. Both Republican and Democratic parties are suffering from this situation. They're both suffering from the situation. You have individuals who don't have the character, the moral fortitude, don't share the same values that we share, right? That are in these positions of power, in these positions of influence, who use and abuse their positions of power for them to do whatever they want to do. Now, we are seeing all of this played out for President Trump, but imagine this playing out on a governor's level. Imagine this being played out on the mayoral level. Imagine it's being played out on a councilman and ward level. This is why this is so important. This is why this is so it's critical for us to have this conversation. All right, let me hear what y'all got to say on this, folks. Join me in the conversation. Let me check in. Larry Hall, my guy. Larry, thank you so much for checking in. Welcome to the show. Larry, you said, daily reminder, a president isn't a king and the plaintiff isn't the president. This comes from the D.C. District Court Judge Tanya Chutkin. A president isn't a king and the plaintiff isn't the president. Wow. That's the space that we're in right now. We're in that space where now we have to make a differentiation between what the president, who the president is, and other parts of the situation. So I'm looking at that too, Larry. I'm looking at the fact that we are dealing specifically with a man who wants to be king. But then, even more importantly, I'm not thinking about just him as a person, as an individual. I'm looking at the implications of this whole situation as being a reflection of where we are. The country, as much as we like to speak about high ideals and high moral values and all of these things, our ideals and our values are not consistent. What we say we believe and what we actually do is not one and the same in this country. I'm going to just say that again, folks. What we say we believe versus what we actually do is not one and the same. Now, are we talking, you might be saying, well, Farajii, is this, who has the moral high ground? Who has the moral authority to be able to determine that something is good or not good? Who really can judge, right? And we all have used the term, I'm sure many of us, well, I'm not going to say all, but some of us may have used the term, only God can judge me. And that's not true. Let's keep it real, folks. Only, yes, God certainly can judge you. But when you look at a government, when you look at a position of power like the president of the United States, they have checks and balances, not just in the powers that they can execute the decisions that they make, but then you also, and this may lead to a much bigger and much larger conversation about what qualifies a person to be able to sit in the seat of the president of the United States. It can't just be age requirement. It can't be just citizenship. It can't be just the ability to understand the law and to understand political structure and governance. There has to be something else. And I don't know if we can legislate character. I don't think that we can do that. I don't think we can legislate character to the point we can say you must be of this type of person or that type of person. But there has to be a conversation about character, especially in 2023. All right, Larry, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for checking in. Damon, my guy, my brother, Pastor Damon Blissett, you said if you commit a crime, you should do the time. It doesn't matter who you are. Facts, brother. Facts. But, Brother Damon, and I think you would agree with me on this one. That's across the board. It's easy for us to say, Trump, throw him in a jail, lock him up, and throw away the key. That's easy. You know, he has become a symbol of public embarrassment, a symbol of white supremacy, and all of these other negative things. But that same rule, Brother Damien, and you and I know it, brother, that same rule got to apply to even for black people in political spaces and political office. We often have these conversations on this show. Brother Roland has it on his show. That same type of metric and that same type of character standard has to apply for black folks as well. Look, folks, it's not about skin color. It's about your ability to distinguish right and wrong, and to, more importantly, to do the right thing when it's necessary. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that moral character. Because moral character, if you had good moral character, if your values are consistent with the values of your ideals, then guess what? It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Asian, or Latino. Wherever you are, you're going to bring what? Some level of dignity, some level of respect, and more importantly, you're going to bring justice to whatever space that you're in. It's not based on skin color. You're talking about character. And that's essentially what we're looking at. This is an indictment of a man's character, a character that we have known in this country to be crooked and rotten for years. So it's no surprise that he's gotten to this point. You know, it's no surprise. One of the big reactions to this news about the former president comes from the Exonerated Five, formerly known as the Central Park Five. And one of the brothers, Dr. Youssef, one of the brothers who were part of the Exonerated Five, he said President Trump's indictment is karma. Y'all remember why? Do you remember during that Central Park case, President Trump took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the death of those 5 black men and those 5 brothers and that Latino brother. He called for their death at that time when racial tensions were high in New York City, when there was all this propaganda, there was a lot of animosity against black boys in the streets of New York. He called for that to happen. He took out a full-page ad. Just look at the history. So it's karma. But the point is that we're at this space now that it's not about making sure that, you know, it's just about Trump locking up. It's about there is a cancer in the air right now in America. Because some people think that that's not necessary. That's not important, as long as he can get this stuff done. Let me get my man Hassan Giordano in very quickly. Hassan, I appreciate you And Keena, let's see if we can bring Hassan into the frame. There we go. Brother Hassan, we got a few moments left, but let me ask you this question, brother. What did you make of this indictment? Is this an indictment, and is democracy on trial with this indictment?
Hey, good brother. I'm sorry. Was it supposed to be 3? I thought we were 3:30.
No, it's just 3.
Oh, man. I thought it was 3.
And it's cool, bro. It's cool.
No, it's not, man. I could have sworn. But anyway, so the indictment of Donald Trump is just, it's, I hear what you're talking about in the character and legislating character. And look, there's plenty of blame to go around in the political system, especially if you want to start indicting political individuals. There's plenty that we can come up with and make up with. I think this indictment from Alvin Bragg, he is an individual who, as a prosecutor and of his whole career, is not someone who's going to do this out of political theater, right? We saw that in many aspects during Congress when they had the whole January 6th hearing. That was purely politics, right? You're coming with charges. We don't know the exact amount of charges and what they look like until the indictment is unsealed. But you can best believe he knows he's banking his entire political career on not just the indictment of Donald Trump, but the conviction of. But the problem exists is, just like officers they go by a different set of laws when it comes to indicting them for homicide and negligence and stuff, because they have a very violent employment. It's harder to convict a cop for the homicide or the attempted homicide of an individual during their employment, right? It's the same way when it comes to trying to convict a former and or sitting elected official, regardless of it being the president. We saw before, John Edwards, 2011, was indicted for almost the same charges, right? Hush money being paid for an individual who he stepped out on his wife on. They brought charges for the former North Carolina U.S. Senator and former vice presidential candidate. And they thought that it was going to be easy to bring these charges and get an indictment and or conviction. And the indictment was a lot easier than the conviction. Clearly, he was not convicted of those charges because it's harder. Look, they still have to choose between 12 members of Trump's peers in New York to bring a conviction. And I don't think Michael Cohen is the sole individual that Alvin Bragg is banking on. But also in the back end of that, I think Donald Trump and his lawyers have more to worry about with Mar-a-Lago's indictment, pending indictment, and that one of Georgia when they try to cover up an election fraud. I think that has more meat on the bone as opposed to what we've seen coming out of New York.
Look, I'm going to take a quick pause. When we come forward, I want to continue my conversation with my brother, Mr. Politics himself, Hassan Giordano. We're going to get a few more minutes with the brother because I think he speaks to it. But we're talking about President Donald Trump, the implications of this indictment. What do you see happening? Do you see like this is an indictment on democracy? Is democracy on trial here? Or is this just about one man? Join us in the conversation and stay tuned. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. We've been talking to Mr. Politics Hassan Giordano, talking about the indictment of former President Donald Trump. Talking about where we stand in this country. What does this mean? The larger implications of this indictment, not on Trump and his allies and his associates. I'm not worried about that, folks. What I'm really worried about is where we stand on the situation. You had 70 million people who voted for this man, right? And I want to bring my brother Hassan back into the frame of this. You know, you had so many people, Hassan, that voted for this man in spite of knowing that he brings so much baggage and garbage to the office, and people still act as if it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. He can get things done. That's really the concern that I have, because now he's setting a precedence that no matter what type of individual you are, if you give off this perception, this persona that you can get things done, who cares about your character? And I don't know. I think that's the slippery slope of this whole situation. Now, we've had you work in politics, bro, so you know better than anybody else that the character of the political leader often comes out at the worst time sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there has to be a change, Hassan. The country is not going to survive if the leadership of the country is corrupt and it's just corrupt as hell. The country can't survive off of that, bro.
No, it can't. In many aspects, and many times, the problem is we have such a short window of time when we're judging these individuals during a campaign season.
Right.
Many times we're not really paying attention to the person and the individual, what they've done and what they're planning to bring. But we're more intrigued with fancy commercials and very quick sound bites. And so we never really get the full measure of a man or a woman until they get into office, because now we have a longer period of time to judge them by. And the problem with that is, in many aspects, that I would really blame it on the campaign election process, right? That's why I've always believed in two things. One, I think the current electoral system that we use, especially for the presidential elections, needs to go. It needs to be replaced with something else. But two, campaign finance reform, because many aspects, the individuals who are getting into office are the ones who are well-funded, right? The ones of good moral character, who have good visions for their locality, whether it be for city council or for state delegate or governor or what have you, are typically the ones who are outfunded. And that means they're not going to get in because they don't have the literature and the fancy commercials and the sound bites that can reach the audience they need in order to get them the votes they need to get in. So we have to start holding these people accountable. Like, we have to start looking into, even when we put them in, to be able to hold them accountable for what they've said and done, and be able to say, you know, okay, is this an individual? Right now, Trump is a cult following. That's what I basically, that's the closest thing I can get to what Donald Trump means to politics. I have yet to see a politician in the many years that I've been in politics that has that cult of a following, that in many aspects, it doesn't matter what he does or says, they're going to run through walls for him. I never understood that there are politicians, once in generations, the President Obamas, the Sheila Dixons, right, the Kwesi and Fumes, who have a base of individuals who, regardless, are going to follow and support them. But guess what? It's also with limitations, right? You go out here and talking about grabbing people by their coochies and all that stuff. Yeah, that's not going to take, well, I don't care who you are, right?
Right.
But Donald Trump, for some reason, seems to be immune to this. But look at his base. That's all I can say. Just look at his base. And so many aspects, I blame that on the political system, and the other parts you got to blame it on the voters themselves who are willing to deal with somebody like that. And look at the power. I mean, look, the GOP is so scared of Donald Trump and what he may say about them that they're actually defending him based off of these indictments, right? And you can tell some of them don't really like Donald Trump. They're just more worried of what he'll say or what his base will think of him.
That's the problem. That is the problem right there. If you know that, and look, and this is the messaging that the GOP keeps putting out, that this is not the party of Trump. We're not the party of Trump. We're not in lockstep with Trump. But then when he gets in trouble, you want to protect him. You want to put a wall around him to make sure that he doesn't feel the full brunt of any consequences of his actions. And that's the problem. There's no way in the world that I'm supporting the Joker who's talking about grabbing women and doing all this stuff. You paying off porn stars. What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell? Like, what are you doing? And again, he got 30 counts. The porn star payment is just one of 30. 30 counts, man. I mean, that means, and this is what I've learned, and I could be wrong, Hassan, as we close out. What I've learned is that when the federal government comes at you, they're not coming at you with no small time. They have done their research. They have made sure that they have a tight case against you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. People in the streets know that. If the feds coming at you, you already know. You know, if it's what's called a true bill, right? And that means that they got their I's dotted, their T's crossed. And when the feds come at you, they ain't coming at you with no little petty stuff. And you can best believe 99.9% of the time they're going to get their man or woman. They're going to get that conviction. It's not like the states. Now, mind you, Alvin Bragg is a little bit different, whereas though it is a statewide, it's not more federal, right? And we got to look at the charges. I know a lot of people are asking, well, DOJ refused to bring these charges, and Bragg's predecessor refused to bring these charges, so why is he all of a sudden bringing them? But that should tell you that maybe there's something else that they weren't looking into, because a lot of them, you know, there's favors of friends of friends, right? Like me, I'm in a position of a little bit of authority these days on a particular office that has charging powers. So, you know, what happens when my friend Farajii might be facing, not to put anything on you.
No.
But, you know, and, you know, they're just investigating. Well, hey, that's my guy. So maybe we shouldn't look too far into that, because and that's just how it goes, right? Let's just be honest with it.
That's real.
It is what it is. That's how it goes.
Real.
So,
yeah, that's very real.
It's interesting to see if this is the last indictment of Donald J. Trump, right? Or if it's just one of many.
Wow, there it is. Hassan Giordano, Mr. Politics. Hassan, I know you've been talking about this. You're going to continue to kind of keep your eyes on it. how can folks watch you and keep up with you, bro?
Well, they can look me up, Mr. Politics. These days, I've retired from my media aspect because of the job I hold and the individual I serve. But I'm always willing to come on with my guy, my dear friend Farajii. Again, I apologize to you and the family. I thought you said 3 to 3:30. I just saw the 3:30 part.
It's all good.
I'll break my silence, my media silence for you and only you.
I appreciate that. I truly appreciate that, my brother Hassan G. O'Donnell, Mr. Politics. Thank you, brother. We'll talk soon, all right?
Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir. All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch the conversation from politics to health and wellness. We're going to be checking in with our very own Dr. Bridget, MD, for this week's edition of Reclaim Your Wellness. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig? When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, you're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. Now, we are going to have our very, very, very important and special segment. You normally see her on Mondays, but because we weren't on air on Monday, we were decided to make sure that we still connect with her later this week. So we're happy to bring her to you on today, Friday. So we are now getting ready for you to reclaim your wellness with Dr. Bridget, MD. All right, good afternoon, Dr. Bridget. How are you, sis?
Wonderful. How are you? Thank you for having me, Farajii.
Absolutely. I'm good. I am good. All right, let's talk about something that you and I had kind of chatted about, yes. Right? Which is, now this is a very, very interesting topic just because even though I would say a very hip hop oriented topic, but it does speak to this larger picture of the standard of beauty that we see currently right now among Black women. And this is an issue and topic about Blac Chyna, who is a media personality. She's an online personality. She's done some television and all of that stuff. But she recently came out and decided to make a real public demonstration of her going through some big, big changes. And this is the changes of removing fillers. Yes. Now, I'm sure you can provide the medical side of things, but these are fillers that were to enhance her backside, her breast, her face, all of these things. She decided to get away from this prosthetic, fabricated look of herself to getting back to the natural, authentic self. And it seems to be garnering a lot of attention, especially among Black women who are really in the space of trying to figure out what is, how they can meet this standard of beauty. This is an interesting conversation.
Absolutely. So as soon as I saw this come up, I believe earlier last week, it hit me immediately, because not just because Blac Chyna, who now, we're calling her Angela White, and I'm embracing all of that because she is embracing her natural beauty and who she is as a person, but how that affects our culture, how it affects Black women, and how it affects even just our community. That she had, people follow her, people know who she is, and she has had face fillers, she has had butt fillers, she's done a lot of cosmetic procedures, and she has decided to let all of that go. And I think it's an incredible moment, because what I'm hoping is that she sets a standard and makes all of us look at what we're doing to ourselves and why, and how even as Black men and being in relationship together, how we can support our Black women even more. So kind of getting to this, she decided to remove all of the silicone injections that she had, that she started at age 19. She even cut back on the long stiletto nails included. She basically, and what we're talking about are silicone butt injections, specifically, that a lot of people are talking about, as well as the facial fillers. There's a couple reasons why this hits me in addition, is because silicone butt fillers are not FDA approved. And you will hear me many times saying we have to kind of scrutinize the FDA. We can't trust everything. But with something like this, those silicone injections are not approved. The BBLs that some people are more familiar with, where plastic surgeons are doing liposuction of the abdomen and then taking that fat and putting it into the butt, that is FDA approved. But the problem is not only are people doing these silicone injections, there's a lot of health risks with it, but also they're done a lot on the Black market. And so the people that are often doing it are not trained or professionally able to do this in a way that they can guarantee a good result. So I've seen articles everywhere. I think it's definitely worth a health conversation, but also a mental health conversation.
So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I often have this conversation with different Black women in my family and just Black women I come across. And I think it's like, as a Black man, we're not inundated with as much, for lack of a better word, and you can definitely change it, propaganda to improve ourselves as much as y'all are inundated as Black women. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we still go through the body shaming, but not quite as severe as what we see for Black women. We still go through, wanting to improve ourselves, but it's a different level. And I recognize this as a man. Mm-hmm. I recognize this now that I have a daughter, I have a son. I recognize that they're going to be, especially my daughter's going to be inundated with all types of messages, communication, and really trying to put in her head, you're not enough. Yes. You're not beautiful enough. You're not valuable enough. You're not enough. So therefore, you need to enhance yourself. Try a butt injection, try a breast injection, put something put a little something in the lips, raise your cheekbones a little, something like that. So now it looks like, just from, Angela doing this, AKA Blac Chyna doing this, it's like almost a revolutionary act.
I hope so.
That she has decided. There was another artist by the name of K. Michelle. She has done the same. K. Michelle went through, and look, if y'all remember K. Michelle, she's a singer. She, beautiful woman as she was, she went through like a whole change. And Dr. Bridget, I was like, who is this? Like, her face, her body, the whole thing. She did it years ago, only to come back years later and recently and say, I'm not happy.
Yes. Yeah. And we need to be able to support one another in this, because let's be honest, all of these procedures that are available on the market right now, legally, illegally, Black, whatever it may be, they're made for other people to look like us. And so we need to embrace our beauty and our diversity, whatever the shape of our body is. And don't get me wrong, you know, people want to enhance, you know, one thing or another at a time, but I really urge that it is coming from something internal that you choose to want to do because little things bother you. I get it. I don't want people to change and deform their body based on trends, based on what we believe we should look like at one moment, because the repercussions of some of these procedures can even be deadly. And I also urge that we support one another. Let's have diversity in our body. Let it be okay. You know, in the 80s or 90s, so many people were getting breast implants. It's still one of the most popular surgeries that are available. But let's not have this movement and trends be so disfiguring that it is so mentally, it affects our mental health. And that's something that we talk about a lot. The one thing I had not mentioned to you, Farajii, in our conversations, is that I'm a medical director for a medical spa. So I, every day, are encountering patients that are doing, cool sculpting, laser hair removal, silicone inject, fillers, and lip enlargement, and all of these superficial type of cosmetic procedures. And I see it every day. People do what makes them feel good about their bodies. And when people are unhappy with the results, I end up seeing them, not necessarily because they had a bad outcome, but because of the issues that happen with dysmorphic disorder, where people pick apart their appearance and there's really no procedure that really makes them feel better, which is why you often see these really exaggerated appearances, because there's really no procedure, no change or shift that really makes them feel better, but they continue to do procedures hoping and searching for something that does. This is not for us, right? We should not be following in this trend. Black women are beautiful women. Black men need to support the diversity of our bodies and our appearances so that we don't, I see women of every shape and size, and listen, love for yourself comes within, but when you're in a relationship with a man that supports you, you can be tall, skinny, thin, fat, whatever it may be. But when you have a loved one that supports your diversity, you look like $1 million no matter what. So less of the rubbernecking, less of the pressure, get away from some of the social media pressures, because a lot of the social media is what really launched quite a bit of this. So I looked at the American Society of Plastic Surgeons. They had an Insights and Trend report. And it was during the pandemic that they found there was an unprecedented demand for cosmetic procedures. And so a great deal of this was related to the fact that people working in their jobs no longer, they had an extra budget and they had extra money. So about 42% of people were doing more cosmetic procedures because they had the extra money. Some of them were doing it because they wanted to, they would pay for anything that would make them feel good and make them feel confident during the pandemic, because it was a hard time, and we're still struggling with that. The other aspect was they were saving money during the pandemic, so 33% of people used it for that. And then 27% were because people were in front of Zoom all day, every day. And that was something I saw quite a bit in my office. You were doing all these Zoom visits, you were doing all these meetings, and so you're sitting and looking at yourself all day. And that's when some of this started to happen, as well as the filters on social media, Instagram and TikTok, and people were getting procedures to look like their filter. Okay. And all of this is adding up, and I'm asking people to take a deeper look inside. And I'm hoping what Angela White did starts a trend. And some of the articles were saying that this hopefully is the end of the BBL era.
And we got to take a quick pause. And when we come forward, Dr. Bridget, I want us to continue to have this conversation because, we also got to look at what the predominating culture, the dominating culture right now among Black women is hip hop and R&B, music and TV. So we're seeing this, like every time you see a story of an Angela White, there are so many other stories of to kind of counter that narrative, right? I mean, you still do have so many Black women who are saying, you know, I got my butt injection. And I've even come across just a couple of stories, Dr. Bridget, where I'm starting to see that in a high school, college age situation, where you got these young girls who are finding the means to get these procedures done. These young girls who feel like, you know what, in order for me to get the attention that I've quote unquote yearned for, I got to do this. And like you said, you know, a lot of it is stuff that we as men, we put on women out of ignorance. But I'm starting to see like this is really a problem. We have to redefine the standard of beauty for Black women in this country, where it's going back to a natural place and not to a prosthetic or fabricated place. Look, folks, we got to continue the conversation. We're going to be checking in with Dr. Bridget. I want y'all to join us in the discussion as we're, of course, this week's Reclaim Your Wellness segment. Join us on YouTube, Facebook, share your thoughts, and let's continue the conversation. We got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, more conversation with Dr. Bridget and, of course, with you. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shots.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate Black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear. Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We have been checking in with Dr. Bridget, MD, as we do each and every week for our Reclaim Your Wellness segment with Dr. Bridget. And Dr. Bridget is breaking it down, folks. She's going to be continuing to have these conversations. Y'all think she's just going to talk about the highfalutin stuff. She's talking about the underground cultural stuff, too. So I'm very, very grateful to have my sister joining me each and every week to talk about some of these major, major health situations that we're seeing. Because culturally, folks, you know, we
no, and, you know, and
sometimes the culture becomes the new doctor, right, Doc? I mean, you know what I'm saying? We listen more to the culture than we do to actual professionals and licensed professionals like yourself about our own health and wellness. And I'm like, what happened? What happened? It's like we just pushed the doctor out the way. Like, no. No, y'all don't know what you're saying. Y'all went to years of school for nothing. Facebook can tell me what I need to do to keep myself well.
Yeah. But I will tell you, when people make this decision, particularly with the silicone injections,
Right.
it's not an easy procedure to reverse.
Mm-hmm.
It is, because literally they have to almost do like an ultrasound search for the silicone to try to find it and then remove it from the body. It is some 5-8 hour surgery to get this out of your body. It is not easy. It can be disfiguring, let alone all the issues with pain, swelling, chronic inflammation, disrupting your lymph nodes, the skin discoloration that can occur, and of course the scarring. So this is not to be entered into lightly. And if I'm not hating anyone that wants to feel better about their body for the right reasons, but you should be doing this with a licensed professional that has respect for who you are, that isn't just going to follow the dollar. And you should think very seriously before you do this, and why.
Can I ask you a question about that, though, Doc? If a woman wanted to do procedures, and let me get throwing a man into this mix as well, but if anybody wanted to do these enhancements procedures outside, I mean, is this truly, and I mean, you can say yes or no, but is this truly a sign that someone loves themselves if they wanted to do these type of procedures? It's one thing to say, okay, I don't know, I want to change my hair color or something. That's a cosmetic thing. But it's another thing to say, I want to thicken my lips, add more to my breast, right? Like, and I know that some women, and, I've had this conversation with my wife about, after childbirth in particular, a woman goes through a very, very hard time accepting the changes of childbirth and its impact on her body. Mm-hmm. I totally understand that. So part of me is like, is this always in a space of something pure, something natural, or is this really coming out of a space of vanity?
So I don't think it's a one and done answer to that, right?
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm not shaming anyone that has taken a deeper look inside, that there is some small aspect that might, and I'll just say a small flaw that they consider to be a flaw that they want to fix. I don't think, we have the science, we have the technology. You really have to determine why. Is it a small thing that has bothered you, and there's, safe surgical aspects that you can do to fix that? I have no issue with that, right? But if the reason is so that you get the more attention, if the reason is because you feel insecure, uncomfortable, unhappy within, if there's really not any one procedure that will ever really make you feel good about yourself, then you really have to see, are you dealing with dysmorphic disorder? If your outward appearance is more important than your inner beauty, then you need to walk this slowly. And I think because cosmetic procedures are more and more easily available than they've ever been, it used to be just for the rich, right?
Right.
But it's so easily available to so many now that we need to be more protective of our youth, as you were saying before the break, right? That we're making decisions that are for the right reasons and not to please somebody else. No surgical procedure should ever be to please someone else.
Even if your man or your partner says that you will look better?
If he doesn't like that body the way it is, he's not the one for you. 100%.
Come on.
100%. Because someone that loves you, loves all of that. And if you are being guided and pushed and prodded to have some sort of procedure so that he can love you
better, like Mario said, I just want to love you better.
Keep looking. It's funny that you say that, because when I started looking up and working on this segment, the first thing that came to mind was The Weeknd. He has a song, Escape from LA. LA girls all look the same. And you can't even recognize the same work done on their faces, but he doesn't criticize. You don't want to look like everybody else. And the beauty about Black women is that we are so diverse in our appearance, and that we should own it and cultivate it and recognize what is unique about you and accentuate that. But if you are trying to chase the trend, you will be disappointed every time.
Wow. All right, let's go to the crew, because folks are checking in, because you're dropping bombs on a Friday. Man, I can't handle you on a Friday. All right, let me see. Truth is power, my guy. You said trying to duplicate that melanin that Black women are born with, but it's more than just skin. It's the elegance. It's that beauty. It's that uniqueness
100.
that sets them apart.
Yeah.
So if you just stop at skin, you miss.
100%. Absolutely. And I think we have an opportunity in this moment that we're seeing with Angela and some of the other people that have decided to remove some of these silicone. We need to make this a movement for Black women. We talked about, Black is beautiful of the 70s. We need to reignite that and reignite it, that we are beautiful just the way we are. Let everybody else start to look like us. But we don't need to enhance anything to look how we already look. And keep in mind, most of the things that we're talking about are usually exaggerated expressions of the surgery. Typically, the minor ones you wouldn't even know exist. But we're not ignorant to when we see the more exaggerated surgeries, whether it's your face or your butt or whatever, because it's exaggerated for a reason. And why?
Right.
Well, one thing I want to bring up is when it comes to ethnic groups, so looking a little bit wider here, that based on our race, we tend to look for different surgeries more often. Asian Americans, they found, tend to actually do more facelifts. Okay. Hispanics, you actually do more tummy tucks. African Americans actually do more of the liposuction. Okay. And so usually, and what we look for when we're seeing these professionals are different things based on our ethnicity, right? So a lot of times the Asian and white women are looking to typically, although this has changed recently, are trying to look as thin as possible, as flat as possible. Though with the BBL, that's changed quite a bit, where African American women usually want a smaller waist, but God forbid that we get rid of the butt, right? So there are trends that we're doing in as far as these surgeries. But what I'm saying is that we have the opportunity to love ourselves just the way we are.
Absolutely. All right. So somebody is one of the crew members is pushing back on this idea of loving you the way you are, Doc. Young Sikh. I'm almost afraid to even bring up his comment. I'm gonna bring it up though. Sorry, he says, sorry, that's not true, Doc. If I marry a woman at 126 pounds and in 3 years she's 186 for no reason, don't tell me there's something wrong with me. She asked me for consistency. She needs some too.
But that's not cosmetic surgery. That's you all going to take a walk after dinner. That's you all making different choices about how you're eating. That's about health and how you're eating and the stress that's going on in the house that allows her the room and the space to be healthier. That doesn't mean that she needs to go and have some fillers.
But to the point of accepting a woman's body, and I guess he's making a point saying, look, if I don't like her body, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not for her. I just don't like her body.
If you feel that she has changed over time, buy a bike, not a booty.
And if you think she's really changed over time, there's a courthouse down the street.
Okay.
I mean, look, man, look, and I would say we say in marriage for better or for worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not always going to be at your prime. You're not always going to be at the top of your game. Life throws a lot of curveballs at you where you're not going to always do what you might come into the relationship one way, and then next thing you know, other things start to happen. You know what I mean?
But I'm not talking
for women, it could be weight gain. For men, it could be constantly losing a job.
Mm-hmm. But I really, this is not a conversation about weight gain, and we can have that conversation at some point. We're not talking about weight gain, okay?
Right.
Because that happens for both parties in a relationship, okay? And it's about making choices to keep each other healthy. We're not talking about that. We're talking about cosmetic procedures to alter your appearance different from how you came into this world, and for what reason.
Gotcha. Great point. Real Brooklyn said the first attraction is the visual. No way around that, Doc.
Yes. No, fair enough. Like I said, I'm not against. I'm a medical director for a medical spa. I'm not against enhancing things that you want to look better. I'm not against it. It's the reason why. So I clearly have no issue with this overall. I am more concerned about why we're doing it. I'm concerned about the exaggerated procedures that happen, the unsafe procedures that happen. That is what I'm concerned about. But if, like I said, if there's something that you feel that bothers you, that's personal, that you want to enhance or change, what have you, go for it. If it's an outside pressure, so if you, like, I understand, absolutely, yes, the first thing is visual, 100%, I get it. If that makes you feel better about yourself, great.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it for that person, that's the difference.
Gotcha. There it is right there. Doc, we got to stop the conversation there. However, I'm so grateful that you even have this discussion, because I think it's important, right? Like, we're talking about redefining the standards of beauty. Big shout out to Angela White.
Yes.
For making the big move. K. Michelle, all of these sisters that are in high profile, influential position.
Yes,
but like I said, we do know that on the other side, you might have the messaging coming from, I don't know, a Cardi B or Nicki Minaj, or, you know what I mean? It's an ongoing battle for who looks better and for why they decide to make those changes. So it is something that I think that is important. But at the end of the day, Doc, I think this is the part. When it starts getting down to the children, when I see little girls start to say, am I too big? Am I too fat? This, am I too that? I'm not pretty enough, and all of those things. That's when it becomes destructive. Like, we can have these conversations, and you and I both got daughters, but we can have these conversations. But as soon as it gets down to the children, then we know we got something. We got
something's wrong. I had to have a conversation with a 14-year-old in my office last week because she said she's proportionate. She's 14 years old, runs track. She says, on her sports physical, I feel that I need to gain weight because I'm not thick enough like my friends. She's 14.
Wow.
What are we talking about?
Wow.
So we need to make better choices. We need to support and love the person you are, and then let adults make other decisions. But, even Cardi B had said that she was getting rid of a lot of those silicone as well. So like you said, kudos to Angela White, and I hope that she's setting an example and people listen.
Absolutely. Dr. Bridget, how can people follow you, get more information about the work you're doing?
Absolutely. So you can always follow me on, you can email me on info@drbridgetmd.com, but you're also welcome to message me and connect with me on Instagram on Dr. Bridget MD as well.
There it is. And folks, take a look at the bottom there. We got contact information for our very own Dr. Bridget. Make sure y'all tune into Dr. Bridget's segment, Reclaim Your Wellness, here on The Culture, exclusively here on The Culture. And let me just share very quickly, Dr. Bridget was a feature in High Times. Yes, Dr. Bridget, talk to us very quickly about this big feature. There it is. Boom. Yeah.
Doing the hard work,
cannabis industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually in Colorado Springs at a hemp expo, NOCO right now, but I did an interview with High Times a couple weeks ago, really about the launching soon of our second book, Courage in Cannabis. But the article is really about that, not about the book, but it is about how our medical systems are so unhealthy and how to support yourself in this aspect. And, we want a better health system for America. And so cannabis in some ways is an option for that, but there's a lot of ways to approach it.
There it is. Dr. Bridget, we always appreciate you. Thank you so much for the great work and insights you provide. And God willing, we'll reconnect with you next week.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's talk about hip hop. We're going to be checking in with our very own Nira Muhammad, culture crew member, to give us her insight about artistry and making money. This idea that, yes, artists can make money. I'm going to share with you what Jay-Z say. This is in light of the fact that Jay-Z, according to a new Forbes report, has officially become hip-hop billionaire 2 times. We'll give you the details of that. Stay with us. The conversation will continue right here on The Culture, only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punching! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Pull up a chair. Take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
We're all impacted by the culture, whether we know it or not. From politics to music and entertainment, it's a huge part of our lives, and we're going to talk about it every day right here on The Culture with me, Farajii Muhammad, only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. For our final conversation, I wanted to discuss something that I saw earlier this week that really caught my attention, and it brought me to think a little bit deeply about our culture called hip hop, but just about Black culture and where we are with the culture. There was a story that came out. Take a look at this, folks. This is from CNBC, when they had talked about Jay-Z, who has now become hip hop's new 2-time billionaire. Can we? I want us to wrap our minds around this very quickly. Jay-Z, according to Forbes, folks, has now is now worth an astronomical $2.5 billion. There he is. 2.5. Warren Buffett once said he's the guy to learn from. He's the guy that folks need to listen to get money-making advice. This is phenomenal. And I thought about this because of where we are in the culture of a lot of things. But when we're talking about money, and it's easy to either throw stones at Jay-Z for his success, or it's easy to ride on the bandwagon and say this dude is actually absolutely the greatest individual of all time, or the greatest artist of all time. But the fact is that you have an individual who came from humble beginnings. He didn't come with a silver spoon in his mouth. We do know his story from rags to riches. and now he's at a point that he is a hip hop billionaire. So I wanted to have a conversation about the idea of artists and money, and I want to bring in a fellow artist, a creative. She is one of our great culture crew members, Nia Muhammad, checking in to talk to us a little bit about this idea of artistry and making money. Let me just share this with y'all about Nia, y'all. Yeah. Nia is a consummate artist, writer, painter. Actually, let me just throw it out there. You say, well, what's she paint? Those sheepdog paintings that sit behind me, that's from the Nia Muhammad collection. But Nia, let's talk a little bit about this as an artist. And the reason I think this is important is because Jay-Z, in the course of this growth and this rise that we've seen, he said something that I think this is very interesting. Take a look at this. Keena, let's pop this quote up on the screen. He said that the greatest trick in music that people ever pulled off to convince artists that you can't be an artist and make money. He said hip hop from the beginning has always been aspirational. It always broke that notion that an artist can't think about money as well. So I'm asking the question, has hip hop sold out the culture of creating? Is this about just making money? Is this about creating? And to Jay-Z's point there, I think that he's absolutely right in the sense that, yeah, we always think of the broke artist. But as a woman like yourself, you're going to school.
The broke artist?
The broke artist. The broke artist, right? No, I mean, there is this thing that if you're an artist, right, that if you're an artist, that you have to, that people tend to believe that, okay, your art comes out of this kind of like, humble space where you're not getting millions of dollars for whatever art you do, whether it's performing arts, whether it's visual arts, whatever the case may be. And it just made me think about this because I was like, you know what? Is hip hop killing that? Is hip hop becoming bad for that? Because we're seeing a person like Jay-Z who takes this astronomical rise, and now will it take away from the art of creating? What's your take on this as one who's in school to become a director? You're a screenwriter, you're a painter, you are a creative. So what's your take on this?
Well, for starters, I believe that you should be doing something that you love, not necessarily doing it for the money. Like, yes, we all need money. We all want money. You want to be successful. You want to leave a legacy to your children. No one wants to struggle. But I also wouldn't say, oh, get into hip hop because you want to get rich. We do see a lot of artists that have a lot of money, especially in that space. A lot of musicians, our actors, our actresses. These are the people that our children, like for me, I know as a teacher, most of my Black boys always say that they either want to be a football player, a rapper, or a YouTube artist. I'm just gonna throw that out there. That's what I get from my Black boys. And I when I ask them why, their reason is because they want to make a lot of money. None of them have ever, maybe like one or two were like, I love football. But for the most part, they've always said it's because I want to be rich. I want to make a lot of money. And I get that. A lot of them do come from humble beginnings. They come from single parent households. The ones that I know personally have given me those answers. But as an artist, I don't do it. I mean, I'm a broke artist. So I can just say I've never painted because I wanted to get rich. I've never tried to sell my paintings for astronomical prices. I've always wanted to make my paintings and my art accessible to young people. That painting that's behind you, not the one of the women, but the couple, that was actually a painting that I did for a paint party for Job Corps back in Baltimore. And to see Black boys, Black young men taking that painting and making it their own, it was such a beautiful thing for me. For me, art is about relationship building. It's about being a creative. It's about a release of emotions. It's about healing from different places and different spaces. And so for me, I've always wanted to share art for Black people because I recognize that it really does heal. And art itself is a very healing thing. So I definitely think that should be the number one thing. You do it because you love to do it, not because you're trying to get rich. But by all means, if you can find success in what you love, do it. But a lot of artists don't find, especially visual artists, we don't find success until years later. Like Basquiat has seen way more success after his death. I mean, our biggest artists, Picasso, Leonardo da Vinci, they were not rich in their prime. Their art, their estates made money after their death. And I don't want that to be the thing anymore. I do believe that we should be able to get our flowers while we're living. But I also don't want people to be like, I want to be Jay-Z. Because he's like such a high bar. You know what I mean, Farajii? It's like,
oh yeah.
Another Jay-Z. Will there be another Jay-Z? How do we top that? And then you have to look at it like Jay-Z is not rich because he's a successful rapper. I mean, he's not a billionaire because he's a rapper. That's from making business deals. That's the businessman. And I think that's another thing that we have to look at. Where does his wealth come from? Is it coming from album sales, or is this coming from his smart investments, his smart sales of businesses that he's acquired and purchased and resold? So I think that's a beautiful business model that we can look at and say, hey, yes, I made X amount of money from my record sales. Instead of me taking this money and just going and buying new jewelry and buying the most expensive shoes, what can I invest my money in? How can I invest my money into other businesses, help small businesses to grow? And then once those businesses grow, you're making money off of that investment. I think that's the genius behind Jay-Z. He recognized that you gotta have your money in different pots. You can't have it all in one place. And so that's what I admire about Jay-Z. And I hope that we're taking that from Jay-Z and not just thinking like he's a rich rapper, because that's not the case.
No, he's far from a rich rapper. One of the big things that has garnered him much success has been a number of things. One is his stake in the whole Douce brand, spirits brand. He sold that to Bacardi for a whopping $750 million.
Woo.
You know what I mean? Now, remember, 3 years ago, Jay-Z got on the Forbes list as being like hip hop's first billionaire with I think it was like 1.1 or 1.2 billion dollar asset. These again, this is not money in the bank for some of us that don't understand how the net worth situation goes. This is not like he got $1 billion in like Bank of America or something. But these are based upon assets and values of investments, as you mentioned here.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 1.2, but in a 3-year time span, he's been able to pretty much double that in 3 years, right? Because one, his of investments, he has properties in Los Angeles here and in New York. He has sold title for a good chunk of change. Again, that Douce Bacardi deal, he actually went to court for that and got that $750 million as a result of a court situation. And he has done, of course, put his money in other places.
And yet his wife's ticket sales are so expensive that people are flying out of the country to go see Beyonce perform as if they need any more money than what they already have.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of annoying a little bit.
And I mean, look, I get it. Look, that's why we're posing this question here. Has hip hop sold out the culture of creating? Have we gotten to this point? I mean, you're going into the film and television industry, right? As a screenwriter, as a director. You know, when we think about Black women in that space and just Black people in those spaces, right? You can't. It's hard for me to believe that you're going through all of the pains and the trials and tribulations just for a check.
No,
you know
and that's the thing. That's why I say when you do things with the right heart, the right mind, and the right spirit, the blessings are gonna come.
Right.
The blessings are gonna come. I didn't decide to go back to grad school to become a director because I was like, you know what? I don't make enough money as a teacher. I want to be a rich movie director. First of all, becoming a movie director, let me just tell y'all, grad school's kicking my ass. There's nothing easy about the movie making process. Let me just say that. Oh my God, like from editing, sound design. I mean, this is hard work. You know what I mean? Like it's time consuming. I spend hours on the computer getting frustrated, ready to throw my laptop, because editing movies is really, really tedious work. But you do it because you love the craft. It's the craft. It's the storytelling for me. And when you do something because of money, think it may not last that long, especially when it's some work that's like, I'm not going to say it's hard work. I say it's tedious work because it really takes you to really be focused. But if you don't love it, that money is not going to matter. You're going to get burnt out. And that's not even to say that you won't get burnt out if it's something that you love, but it's something about when you're passionate about what you do, it makes it feel that much sweeter than if you're just going in to get a paycheck. So that's why I say don't knock it, because I am by no means telling anyone don't want to acquire wealth. I want to see us, especially as Black people, brown people, I want to see us acquiring wealth, especially in the music industry, because if you think about how many Black artists from TLC, so many others, were being taken advantage of for years. You know, our sports players taken advantage of for years. So you want to see them be successful, but you also want to be realistic about it. Like, do I think that, just throwing out that Lamar Jackson deserves a guaranteed contract of all this astronomical money just to play football? Absolutely not. I don't believe that. But you got to do it because you love it. And at one point you're looking at, like, do you love it or are you just doing this for money? Because now it's kind of hard to tell. You know?
And you know what? Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real.
Like, it's millions of dollars anyway, bro. Like, geez.
I mean, look.
How many millions does a man need? What are you spending it on?
See, that's the other part about this.
My bad. You need another chain? Is that why you need more of this money? Because you want to buy another chain? You want to buy more Rolexes for your homeboys? Like, I think that's a big thing. What are you trying to acquire wealth for? What are you acquiring it for? Are you acquiring it because you want flashy things?
And I know
or are you trying to change the...
Well, look, I'm going to say that you asked this pertinent question, so very quickly. You said, what are we acquiring wealth for? And essentially, you want to have a comfortable quality of life. You do not want to have to think
I don't need a Rolex that's worth $5 million to have a comfortable life.
Right.
$5 million watch.
Right.
I was like, even for instance, I was offended when, I think it was about, what was it, Meg Thee Stallion talking about she hit up Beyonce for free tickets because Beyonce tickets were so expensive. And yet you're always bragging about all this money that you spend on a Birkin bag and all this other, I'm sick of hearing these people talk about money in just the terms of material possessions. It's getting on my nerves. I'm tired of it. And maybe that's because I do work with so many families that are struggling. And, I see so many children that are hungry or whose families can't afford to buy them, just a pair of shoes. And you're like, but you want a $20,000 purse. It's like, I don't give a damn. And I'm supporting you. As me, as a struggling teacher, as a struggling artist, I'm supporting your habits. No, thank you. I'm over that. I'm over that part of the culture personally.
So one of the culture crew members, Des, checked in and said, well, what you need is not what others need.
And that's totally fine. But I mean, if you feel like you need $1 million watch, that's fine. That's whatever. But at the same time, you're asking people who are struggling to support your lifestyle essentially as an artist. Because as artists, our lifestyles are supported by the people that support us. So you're telling people that their hard-earned money is meant to go towards you living this fucking lifestyle that they'll never get to live. And I just want you to think about that for a minute. Because that's the part we have no empathy. Where the fuck is our humanity at? When you think about it, you're asking people to spend their hard-earned money just so that you can go on fucking vacations that cost $5 million a vacation. For me, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
But maybe you don't give a damn about the people. I do. Difference.
Look, we got to take a quick pause when we come forward.
I care about the little man. I'm sorry that I care about the people that are going to college, that are busting their ass to get these careers, these jobs, our teachers, our firefighters, our doctors. So sorry that I care about those people more than I care about the person who's asking you to pay $3,000 to come see them perform. So sorry.
Right.
Drake tickets are astronomical to go to his concert. You can suck my dick, Drake. I would never pay that to go see you. Like, I don't care. I can listen to a title that I pay $9.99 a month for.
let's take a pause. We got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, we'll continue the conversation. Has hip hop sold out the culture of creating? What's your take on this, folks? Join us in the conversation right now on YouTube and Facebook. We love to hear what you got to say. And of course, we'll continue the conversation with Nira Muhammad, the creative. Stay with us. It's the culture on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. We've been talking about this idea of creating and money. And I'm asking the question, has hip hop sold out the culture of creating, especially now with the latest news about Jay-Z, who is now hip hop's $2.5 billion man. Wow. Now, again, Jay-Z did not just get this money off of his artistry. He's actually is a businessman. So he got many deals and investments from everything from property to his investments in the spirits industry to other other projects. So it's not just about his record sales. He's actually hasn't even dropped a full studio album since for the past 6 years. And we've been talking to creative Nira Muhammad. She's the host of Queen Talks with Nira. She's also is a master's student for becoming a director. She's a screenwriter. So she is an all-around creative. And we've been talking about this very issue of money and creativity for artists. I want to bring Nira back into the frame because Nira, she's passionate. She's passionate. All right, let me just share with you very quickly what people are saying, because a lot of people are checking in and saying, you're right, Nira, that that it has gotten to be too much, that the amount of money that artists, quote unquote, are seeking to get, or athletes are getting, or those who do the work of performing or entertaining us is absolutely, just completely unreal. And
when you look at inflation, look at what people are paying for food. I mean, look at inflation right now.
Right.
People are paying going to the grocery is like makes you want to cry.
Hey, look, going to the grocery store is probably like
go see you in concert. Did you see this? Did you see the trending thing when they asked Soulja Boy? They asked people would they rather get food stamps or go see or have dinner with Soulja Boy, and everybody was saying, "No, give me them food stamps." And Soulja Boy's like clapping back, but I'm like, "Nah, real talk."
Wait a minute, hold on. Soulja Boy is clapping back and saying what? That he's worth your food, your refrigerator being filled.
He's upset because people would take the food stamps, but
see, this is no. And all right,
eggs. I mean, I'm a little bougie when it comes to my eggs. I like brown eggs.
I get it, all that.
$8.99 a carton.
Look, hold up. You mean to tell me this dude is upset that people don't want to sit down and have dinner with him, and they would rather get their refrigerators filled for the week or 2 weeks or whatever the case may be.
Yep.
See, this is and I mean, it's crazy and it's funny, but no, this speaks volumes about the disconnect of some artists from the people. You see what I'm saying?
That's the point I'm making. The disconnect.
Yeah, it's a huge disconnect. Like, bro, people like I don't know who
I bet you. I'm telling you, if Beyonce took the sales from one concert and put that into homelessness, how much of a difference it would make from one venue? One venue.
Remember, you told me this a couple of days ago. You came across a report that said that I think in the city of Los Angeles, or it's the state of California, I think it was LA, just the city of LA, that if you spent so many amount of money, and I mean, it's a lot of money, but it was not completely like crazy amount of money, a few millions of dollars that people can get off the street. I remember you telling me that.
I did, and I can't remember the exact number, but I remember it wasn't astronomical. That's why I was like so surprised.
Right.
I was like, what?
Right. And we both talked about the fact that it's like when you're looking at how money is spent, and it's about the will of the political will for the government to help people. I mean, I agree. I totally agree. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is getting to the point, and we're going to talk about the Lamar Jackson thing at another time. But one of the things that one of the NFL greats, Richard Sherman, he brought this point up, and I don't know. Hey, Keena, you know what? Bump it. What did he say? Hey, Keena, run. I want you to run that video from Twitter of Richard Sherman, brother, how he responded to this whole Lamar Jackson saga. Because what he said, if it's not entitlement, folks, I don't know what entitlement is. Let me know what you got.
Okay, now you're about to make me fall back in love with Richard Sherman, because you know how I feel about this. I'm like, bro, come on.
I know. I get it.
How many millions? But I'm asking this question real quick.
Go ahead.
How many millions do you need to do what you say that you love? Because this is something that if you get into football and you put in all that grunt work, you can't tell me that you didn't do it because you love it. So how many millions would it take for you to do what you say that you love? Do you love it really?
Right.
The money. Which one is it? Because we go to work every day to do things that we love for a mere $55,000 a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the big scheme of things.
Here's Richard Sherman, y'all. Now I want you to listen to this. Take a listen to this. And
pissed me off is when Kirk Cousins got his fully guaranteed deal. I thought all the quarterbacks from then on were gonna be like, hey, if it ain't guaranteed, I ain't taking it. Then Mahomes took that BS deal in just 10 years and wanted to look like $500,000. Like, but if you get a half of that fully guaranteed, everybody's happier. That sets precedent. But when he didn't set it, then Josh Allen didn't set it. Now Lamar's trying to set it after Deshaun's already said it. And they're like, nah.
They don't want to, allow certain things to happen because it sets a trend going forward. But, I mean, they should have thought about that when the Kirk Cousins deal came up. They should have thought about the big dogs coming after him. And, I mean, this situation, this is the bed that they made.
Right. It's the bed you made. Now landed. For them to say nobody's interested in him. I mean, they trading 2 first-round picks for D linemen, for safeties. And you talking about former MVP of the league. A lot of these teams don't got nobody at the quarterback spot. Some of them trading 2 first-round picks to draft a kid that you don't know what he gonna be.
All right, so here's the thing. All right, that comes from the Richard Sherman podcast. Let me give you all some more clarity on this. The man said he called Patrick Mahomes' deal, and look, folks, we ain't got enough time to get into it. He called Patrick Mahomes' deal BS, bullshit. Because the deal, which is $450 million over 10 years, that's talking about $45 million a year.
How is that BS?
What?
Football
players only play for 5 months, B.
What the fuck are you trying to buy that you can't afford to buy with $45 million a year?
Y'all, the season is only 5 months if you get into the playoffs.
Thank you. Not like that. I'm telling you, like, we're literally out here working. What is the average American makes what, $53,000 a year? You're making $45 million to play a sport. Come on.
That's
this.
why I
sick.
said. That's
I
why
am
I said.
so sick of this part
Yeah,
of culture.
that's why I said it's entitlement. That's why I said this is entitlement. This is getting to be. This is getting to be too much.
You investing? How much of that are you investing back into the community? How much of that are you investing into the people that are supporting you? I mean, seriously, how much money do you need?
That's crazy. Look. A BS deal.
How many houses do you need?
Wait,
how many cars do you need?
Listen.
How many pairs of shoes do you need?
I get it. And look, here's the thing. Here's the thing as we close out. $45 million. Let's do this. $45 million a year, which in football terms is only 5 months, which means that $9 million a month. And that's
that doesn't include
deal.
That doesn't include his State Farm commercial money. That doesn't include any of those other deals he gets. It doesn't include the fact that celebrities can walk into places and get shit for free. These are rich individuals who get shit for free. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have all these endorsements. And some people probably, I know you got people watching that are probably like, oh, she's crazy. They deserve it. I'm sorry. First of all, no one deserves that just to play a goddamn sport. Whatever. Get out of my face. But if Lamar Jackson's not a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes to me, I'm sorry. You couldn't even make it through the entire season. You had an injury. No, personally, I think that if I owned a football team, I would be like, no one is getting guaranteed shit. Not in a sport where you can get hurt in one game and that ends your career.
Hey, look, I get it. I totally get it. People are checking in. Look, people are checking in and saying a sport, Queens Kid 79, you said a sport that can give you CTE and cut your life by 20 years. You chose the sport. You could do something else.
Because of that, you deserve to get $300 million.
Come on.
Out of here. Goodbye. And again, you chose the sport.
You chose that line of work. You chose that line of work.
This is the thing. People don't think logically or economically. Like, you guys just don't. You guys are just. It's kind of irritating.
I'm not
but it's like, it just goes to show you. It goes to show you where a lot of people's priorities lie, and I think it's just sick. It's very sickening and it's just annoying.
Look. Let me just say this as we close this out. We got to close this out. Go into the school system. Go into the prisons, and see the quality of life of people in these spaces, right? Go into school, go into prisons. Look, folks, I get all of that talk. It's the market, it's the game, blah, blah, blah. Same thing for going back to the artistry conversation, right? That's the game, blah, blah, blah. No.
I'm sorry for I
here's the thing.
These concerts are starting to cost way too much money.
Way too much.
I'm so over it. I'm not gonna lie. My sister and I went to go see her.
I'm not mad at people for making money.
You can make either. Money. No, this is not about me being mad about you making money. I want you to make money. You should see success. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But I can honestly say, my sister and I went to go see her in Philly live. I mean, sister's playing the guitar. $20 per ticket. $20. Now, I'm pretty sure her tickets are going to cost more than that now. But tickets for my sister and I to go see Beyonce Lemonade. We had great seats at the Ravens Stadium. I think altogether I might have spent about $400. Now you're gonna be all the way in the nosebleeds, maybe $400 on one ticket. I'm good on that. I bust my ass every day and go teach your kids. I can't afford to go spend all that money on Beyonce. I'm sorry. I'm not spending my hard-earned check on a celebrity that's already that goddamn rich. No, your husband is a billionaire and you're a millionaire, astronomical millionaire, and you want people to spend all their hard-earned money supporting your lifestyle even more. And y'all know I'm a huge Beyonce fan. Oh my God, I might get a B tattooed on my ass. That's how much of a big Beyonce fan that I am. But I'm not spending my hard-earned money for somebody that's that rich. I've seen you already. I've seen you twice live. That's enough for me. On the Run 2 was the last Beyonce concert that I will be at because I'm not spending all that money to support her rich ass. No, thank you.
All right. Well,
love you, B, but I can't afford you.
Hey, you're not the only one. Look. I think there's a larger conversation that needs to be had in this country about how we see money. Capitalism is when you say cocaine is a hell of a drug. Look,
Capitalism is like a disease, bro.
Capitalism is a hell of a philosophy. It will make you hate your own nature. Nolan J, I saw your point. Nolan J 7439, you said Western individualism versus African communalism. We got to get back.
I like that.
We got to get back to the nature of us. The nature of us is all about the community, not about the individual.
Yep.
All right, very quickly. Nero, how can people check you out on social media or on your podcast? Break it down for us real quick.
You guys can find me at Queen Talks. Is that Queen Talks with Nero Muhammad? Is that my Instagram? Damn, I can't even remember. Or you can find me at Nero_Muhammad on IG. I'm like, dang, what is my IG? Yeah. Queen Talks with Nero Muhammad is on every single streaming platform, from iHeartRadio, podcasts on Amazon, iTunes. I'm all over the place. So yeah, check out my my podcast. I talk about all kinds of dope stuff. And I'm always looking for people who might want to come on the podcast. So please, if you want to be on the podcast, you have something relevant that you want to talk about, shoot me a DM. I would love it, love it, love it. I actually am going to be starting up my next season very, very soon. So please shoot me a DM if you want to come on the show and talk some good shit with me. Right. I would love it. Yeah.
There it is. Nero Muhammad. Checking in as always. Original Culture crew member. Thank you, Nero. Thank you for being so good for the culture.
Thank you, Farajii.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. I thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you support us, blackstarnetwork.com. Go to the website, support us financially. Continue to share the content. Let your friends and family know about the great work we're doing. And, of course, follow us on social media at blackstarnetwork.com. You can also follow me. You can see that right at the bottom. Follow me, The Real Farajii, on Instagram, Farajii on Twitter. Love to connect with you as we build out our Culture Crew community. All right, that's going to do it for me, folks. Stay tuned. Up next is Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk on Monday for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Peace.